Welcome to Authenticity, which is all about shaping high-performance workplace culture. My name is Simon Tyson, and in my role as CEO of the Real Learning Experience, I've been working with organisations for nearly 30 years, helping them create exceptional workplaces. As a leader, you know the daily effort needed to create a culture that produces great results and in which team members and customers are happy. Those things do not happen by accident. The journey isn't always easy. And that's why this podcast exists. Make sure you subscribe as we share our experiences and strategies to help you transform the workplace culture you have into the workplace culture you want.
Hi listeners, and welcome to today's episode. Our guest in this episode is Kirstan Wilding, leader of corporate social responsibility at TasNetworks. We haven't worked with Kirsten before. We met her when she was delivering a keynote at an online conference, and after listening to her, we knew we wanted her to be a guest on our podcast as soon as we could make it happen. The authenticity Kirsten has when she speaks about the challenges and learnings in leadership, it just aligns so well with exactly who we are and what we do here at the Real Learning Experience. So our episode today is structured a little differently to what you are used to. There's no discussion between Simon and myself at the start, and there's no Q&A at the end. We made this decision because we feel the conversation and messaging with Kirsten is so strong. We wanted to pack this episode with as much as possible of that conversation. We discuss being your authentic self, leading with vulnerability, listening to really listen, not listening to just respond. All of these topics which Kirsten brings through her shared learning experiences and life learnings. We really hope you enjoy this episode as much as we enjoyed our conversation with Kirsten.
So our guest today is someone I'm really excited to have here. Kirstan Wilding is the leader of corporate social responsibility at TasNetworks. But the reason we're excited to have her here is that we heard Kirsten speak at an online conference recently. She was speaking about a psychometric tool that they've used to help understand and shape their workplace culture. And we were really struck by Kirsten's philosophy, by her perspective, and by the language she used to describe the journey her organisation's been on. Welcome, Kirsten. Great to have you here.
Welcome, Kiralee and Simon. So wonderful to be here. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
And look, it's been an interesting journey. We've had a few takes at making this happen with current travel restrictions and so on. We've had to reschedule. So I really appreciate you persevering.
That's one of my great strengths. So
you're enduring phase. Fantastic. So, Kiralee, I'm going to throw to you because I know you had some things that you wanted to ask Kirsten.
Yeah, thanks, Kirsten. I was thinking for our listeners, a really good place for us to start would be if you could give us some information about your background and where you've started and just anything that you think would be relevant.
Okay, well, there's a lot to talk about in that, so I'll keep it pretty short because I think I'll just kind of focus on how did I get to this role and how that fuels me today. So let's talk about some of the basics. I'm an adventurer, so I'm willing to walk through life seeing it unfold in front of me, and I really get great enjoyment of just looking forward to what's next. I'm fueled by coffee and dark chocolate. I'm a mum.
Is there some red wine to go with that dark chocolate?
Yeah. Of course.
I think we're spirit animals.
I'm a mum with 2 boys, and I'm energised by nature. And it's so wonderful to live in a place like Tasmania, Lutruwita, Tasmania, where you're surrounded with a lot of natural beauty. And I live in a place that's quite close to the mountain here in Hobart, the capital, and that mountain is Kunani, and it's really fuels a lot of my energy in the everyday. So I've worked in the electricity industry for 20 years. And that's TasNetworks is an electricity network service provider in Tasmania. And 17 of those years were spent working in energy policy and regulation. which is a really different kind of career and environment to where I'm sitting now. And I'm really enjoying the work that I'm doing every day in corporate social responsibility. So, with the team, we're leading brand, community engagement, environment, and sustainability initiatives for the business.
And look, this is one of the reasons I love talking with Kirsten. There's so much in what you said there that resonated for me. So, for our listeners, most of you will know that I'm also a Tasmanian, live in Hobart. Kirsten and I discovered when we had our first conversation that we're fellow triathletes. And I think we probably occupy a similar place in the field when we compared our talents. But we both do it with passion and love it. But something I just loved about Kirsten, and this tells me so much about you, is the way you described our mountain. And I have a really passionate belief about this because a number of years ago, our mountain was renamed from its, and I'm going to put it out there, its ridiculous European name, and was given a co-name. And I love the fact that you didn't use the co-name, that you just referred to it by its, what I consider its proper and traditional name. Do you do that consciously, or is that just second nature?
It's becoming more second nature. Yet it is a very conscious practice to learn the stories and understand our shared history and the impact that we had in colonisation on the Aboriginal people in Tasmania. So I do like to share more through conversation about that history and really recognise that we all have a love for country, and it's really creates an environment of belonging for all of us.
Yeah, and I love let's not be halfway about it. The mountain is Kanunyi, and I've just, a little segue, just finished my first novel, and the mountain plays a huge role in that. And I made that conscious decision to refer to it by its sole traditional name, rather than compromising in that book. So that's a whole nother story. So I would love to know a little bit more about what a leader of corporate social responsibility does. What's the sort of daily focus for someone in that role?
Wow, what a great question. Because you're leading, because it's so diverse. The portfolio is really diverse. And like if I just talk about yesterday, maybe,
Fantastic.
we're leading teams of people. So I've got 2 team leaders that I'm working with, and they're wonderful humans. And then we've got a broader team. So you're having really valuable and important culture, engagement, people conversations in your everyday as well. But what we're also talking about is how do we set this business up to connect to what community expect of us, which is a net zero climate future. That we are shaping this business towards a future of renewable energy development and opportunities and growth for Tasmanians. So we have conversations like that. And we also are engaging on our reconciliation action plan. And yesterday we met as a working group to talk about those stories of shared history and how some of the actions that we have at TasNetworks to engage with the Aboriginal community here in Lutruwita, how that's progressing and what we're learning and experiencing from that every step that we take. So that's just a little snapshot, I suppose, of some of the activity that we get up to.
Yeah. And I can see why, I can see the animation on your face when you talk about that, and I can see why you're perfect for that role, because it's not just something you do, it seems to be something you feel.
Yeah. Well, I've learnt a lot about purpose, and I think what drew me to this role, coming from energy policy and regulation, where what I was really enjoying in that job and leading that team was the customer engagement side of it. Getting to talk more widely to people, learning and understanding their experiences, and bringing that back into the business to shape our future strategies. That's what fuels me and excites me. So this job gave me an opportunity to do that a lot more. So I really took it.
Yeah.
And I get to bring that previous experience to the table too, which
Yeah.
is really helpful because it drives a lot of why our business looks the way it does.
Yeah.
Um,
Fantastic.
so yeah, I have learnt a lot about purpose, and it gives me energy, which is why you
Yeah.
see the animation that comes with it.
Yeah, that's it. But as I say, I think it's really evident that you feel it, not just do it. And I think that's a great thing for, regardless of your role. I think if you feel it,
Mm,
then you've got to do it better, don't you? You've got to do it with more. And a word that you used, and I'm going to come back to later, is authenticity.
yeah.
So, but we'll talk about that later. Kira Lee.
Just when you mentioned purpose, that was actually going to be my next question. So that just leads into that: is what is your purpose, and how do you find that? What has shaped you finding and understanding what your purpose is?
Yeah. And I think my purpose has been one that was shaped really early as a child. Sitting in, I grew up in Queensland and really enjoyed getting out there in the sunshine and climbing a lot of trees. I also have three brothers, so that's probably where that adventurous spirit really found its future. And I used to sit there in a tree and think, wow, the world could be better. And how do we work together to make that opportunity and see that unfold? And I suppose my purpose was really honed in. So it's when I've walked through adversity moments in my life, and it really tapped into that value that sits within me, which is to see people thrive. And at the core, it's about me as a mum with my children, seeing my boys thrive in this world. And then in my workplace, it's seeing that same thriving, flourishing future for the people that I'm working with, and then out there in the community too. So being able to make that positive difference is what really kind of drives a lot of motivation within me.
So, how old were you when you were sitting in the tree thinking about
Yeah.
the world could be a better place?
Look, I was young, and I think psychology talks about your 7-year-old self, and
Yeah.
it probably was me as my 7-year-old self in the tree and
Yeah.
thinking about those things because I'd been, seeing some things go on at school, and I think that's where it came from and probably where it started.
Yeah, what a great. See, I think my 7-year-old self was probably sitting in a tree thinking about how I could get mum to buy me an ice cream or something. But I really would like to think that I had those deep reflections. So,
Hey, look, I was having all those thoughts too, and I still
yeah,
do.
that's
It does highlight that you've clearly been very socially aware and emotionally aware from a very young age. That's
Yes,
something that has really
yeah,
been a part of you.
yes, it has been, yeah, yeah.
and that's
And
probably helped. So go on, Kirsten.
I know I was just going to say because when I think it's, I suppose the reason why I've kind of looked back to unpack that for myself is really trying to understand with that self awareness uh, piece of what is it that has been motivating me all this time.
Yeah,
What keeps me moving through and energized in the everyday. And I probably did click back through the years, and even talking about triathlon, what is it that keeps us going when you've been out there on the road for 2 hours and then you get off your bike and you do another 20K run? Sometimes you're doing that while you're running and you're thinking, why am I
yeah,
doing this? and then
yeah,
and then you kind of connect back to, I'm doing this because I'm inspired to have a better self, like to be my best.
mm,
And I love seeing that best in other people too.
yeah. And I think that any endurance sport, it's one of the things I love about it because it does take you places
Mm,
and make you think in ways, reflect and really examine yourself and what's motivating you, what's
mm.
driving you. It's one of the things I just love about it. Is that whole mental side. The physical side can get a bit much at times, but but the mental side is really really exciting. I think when you're prepared to go there. So
Yeah.
Kirsten, sorry.
Go ahead, Kirsten.
After we spoke with you last time, I was really blown away by some things that you said. So, what I was hoping we could touch on again is your positivity and zest for life, and your outlook, and your just the way you are so grounded in the way, given you have had some really challenging and adverse times. Are you comfortable to touch base on what those have been and how they have shaped the way that you both view the world as a mother, but also how you take that strategy into where you go to work every day?
And as a leader, yeah.
Yeah, as a leader.
Yeah, well, we talked about authenticity and we've talked about purpose.
Yeah.
So purpose taps into who we really are and who I really am. And authenticity for me is how I'm walking that talk every day and showing up and expressing myself as my whole self in life and in work. And there's a real understanding that I've gained over time because of the adversity that I've experienced in my life, that for me to continue to hold true to that authenticity and purpose, it helps you get through those moments. So I've experienced the family heartache of losing my mum when I was 28.
It's young.
Yeah, I've seen my brother go through really challenging life changes, which have shifted his world fundamentally. And I've also experienced my son walk through a scenario of being close to on the edge of his life.
Yeah.
And it's really those moments that drew me back to, because you could suffer in that place and really kind of wind down and sit with it very painfully,
Yeah.
or you could make a choice and pull out and see the strength and opportunity that you gain from going through such hard experiences. And I suppose I'm on that latter side. And please know it is a wave. Like I've been in those moments of suffering and pain, and I've seen others who have also been there. But I suppose what's different is that those who are able to ride it through and come out and see the strength from that experience are the ones that can really step into good ground and hold themselves strongly.
So many of those experiences, when you've moved past them, you have the choice what you take with you from them.
Yes.
And they have clearly made you a very authentic person, and that was the word that you used a number of times in the presentation, and it was the way you used it that really struck me. How is that authenticity and how have those life experiences shaped you as a leader?
I think it's given me an ability to lead with teams by showing my whole self and opening the door to trust with everybody, that for my team to be able to trust me, they need to see me as my whole self too, so I've got to show me with all my vulnerabilities and share those stories of failure and mistake and things I could have done so much better. And then also the great stories that come with that too, like the achievements, the rewards, the look what we've done together moments as well. So I think what I've learned is expressing that vulnerability, particularly with teams who...
So you may notice in the recording, we just had a little glitch there with a slight internet dropout. And I'm going to ask Kirsten to pick up because I loved what she was saying around vulnerability and how that impacts her as an authentic leader.
Yeah, thanks. And I think what I've learnt about vulnerability is that it enables teams to build trust. And the best way for a leader, from my own experiences and how I practiced it, was to be the one showing that vulnerability and sharing
Excellent.
stories on my own experiences and also what those experiences felt like, so that team members came to a place of seeing and observing someone else demonstrating that behavior and feeling more safe to share more of their own stories of those experiences for
Absolutely.
themselves. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes we walk through life thinking people might know these things through their own observations, that just those in the workplace, well, of course they're seeing some of those hard experiences that I might be having. But I don't know if people really do. So
Yeah.
we do have to allow time in meetings to share those moments because it's really powerful.
Yeah.
And I've learnt particularly, even sharing the ones that you'd rather just keep to yourself
Yeah.
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
some of those quite challenging moments that you might have experienced with my own boss or
Yeah.
with a different team member or a team member who was comfortable with me sharing their experience with everybody else, has been the moments that have really shifted people's perspectives
Yeah.
and opened the door to trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had this discussion we had a group of emerging leaders. We ran a workshop last week and we had a very similar discussion, and to hear that is how you lead is just brilliant, because we discussed with them about vulnerability and how we wanted them to lean into that vulnerability, and that leaders that do that, they have the realization that I'm not meant to be perfect. I don't always have all the answers, and I don't have to have this, appearance of I know everything and I am everything. And once you lean into that vulnerability and you embrace it, that growth and that step towards away from management and towards being a leader and the impact you have on other people is amazing. So I can only imagine the safe space you create by leading like that for the people within your team to then feel like they can lean into that vulnerability as well.
Yeah. And I think, the master of this kind of teaching is Brené Brown in the way that
Yeah.
she speaks of and shares her research on vulnerability. So I often think about that and the armor, like what armor
Yeah.
am I wearing in this moment, and
Yeah.
what could I share with others to help them see? Because there are really challenging experiences where we might be feeling really defensive, and it could be for reasons that are happening outside of work. So I do ask myself, what armor am I wearing in this moment? Because there we it supports people to see more about our own reactions to things and why something might be turning up for me. It might be about my values. It could be about a challenging experience I had before I got to work, trying to drop kids off at school and all the arguments that might happen. Or it could be about a tough meeting that you just had about your own performance. So I think I've learnt to respectfully share those moments more so that my team members are doing the same thing back. And that's been such a great experience. And I've really realized how that has shaped, without the intention of a pursued outcome, a psychologically safe environment.
Yeah. Yeah. Something that really leaps out at me in what you were saying is that it's really hard to feel safe with someone who's not vulnerable, because if someone's not vulnerable, there's a barrier, there's a pretense that they're perfect, there's a defensiveness, there's a whole bunch of stuff. And by removing all of that pretense, everyone else knows I'm not perfect, so I might as well admit it. And it takes a heck of a lot of pressure off when we don't have to be perfect. But by taking down that barrier, you create the opportunity for safety and trust. Whereas as long as that invulnerability is there, you're just not someone that people can feel safe and
Yeah, and I
comfortable
think,
with.
the lesson with vulnerability for me, and it kind of sits really tightly to courageous as well, like the courage,
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
it's walking into the room to share those courageous stories and thinking about that being, well, if others aren't opening up, at least I am. And I'm demonstrating the
Yeah,
behavior
Yeah.
yeah,
and staying true to that for myself, because the reality
mm,
is, when you're doing this more, when you're practicing this more and opening up these safe spaces, people are sharing some really tough stories back to you about your own
yeah,
Definitely.
behaviors.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's so important for your own learning. But it's also really tough. And I don't want to discount that, because
yeah,
you are
yeah,
getting the mirror shone back to you. And
mm,
you need to well, I've learned that I need to invest the effort into thinking about that and not turning in on myself, so that I'm being
mm,
kind and patient and recognizing that I also have a lot to learn, and
yeah, yeah,
and to walk through that experience, because I'm not going to get it right,
yeah.
and it is going to
Well,
be an experiment.
well,
And
I
sometimes,
think that the whole life and leadership are both an ongoing
Yeah,
experiment, and our obligation isn't to be perfect; it's to
yeah,
strive to be better. And I think that's such an important distinction. But even that stuff that's reflected back to
mm,
you as a leader, when you accept that you're imperfect and when you've got the vulnerability to do that, it loses its sting because it's not
mm,
violating an image that you have of yourself. It's actually reinforcing that, yeah, I am a flawed human being striving to be my best. And it's okay that I'm hearing that I'm not perfect because I'd stopped kidding myself that I was. And so I really love that. I think there's just some great messages there for leaders to be attainable to the people around them by removing some of those facades. So, Kimberly, I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. We both have a thought at the same time. Mine was just around when you were speaking was just being comfortable with sitting in
mm,
the uncomfortable, and it might feel really not where you want to be, but in fact, learning to sit with that uncomfortable is where you grow the most
yes.
at times, and where you have that self-reflection, and it takes a mindset to have that as well, because some people can sit in the uncomfortable and really sit in the negatives, but sit in the uncomfortable with the intention of, what can I learn, the awareness of what's going on, what armor am I wearing, what's happened today that's influenced, all those thoughts that you have that reflect, that enable you to move forward as a better, stronger leader with more clarity around who you want to
And we
be.
could also talk about this like a growth mindset. You know,
Absolutely.
it's the opportunity and the strength that you can gain and I can gain by thinking like that as part of my everyday helps motivate me and energize me to learn and share and experience all of these things that we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I just had a little light bulb go off in my head, and being an extrovert, I talk in draft mode. So I'm going to figure this out by by talking about it. My son's a very good runner, and one of the things that we've been talking about a lot lately, and that I think he's using to grow as a runner, is to redefine pain. So
Mm.
at first he would hit a point where it was hurting and then back away from that because of that perception of pain is bad. And I'm differentiating injury pain from just that sort of sense of pain of this is hurting, I'm
Mm.
running really fast. And he's redefining that and saying, well, actually, pain is the message that I'm in the right place. I'm actually running at that threshold, and I can keep doing this for a given period of time. And it's actually feedback that's positive, that shows I'm where I need to be. And sitting in the uncomfortable was a bit like that. Instead of having that shy away from an experience of this is a bad thing, it's redefining that discomfort and saying, actually, this is where I need to be. This is a good place. The fact that it's uncomfortable is feedback that I'm where I need to be to have a growth mindset. So I don't know if that makes sense. It makes sense in my head.
Yeah,
So,
and the courage to redefine that as well. Like it takes, like Kirsten said before, it's not easy, but it's having that courage to go, okay, I can do this. Like I say to my kids, we can do hard things.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
And it's a really good analogy because when you're running to a place, there's a goal that you're heading towards, and there could be a whole mix of goals, but maybe if we just talk about a really simple one, you want to get to a certain place at the other end, and that might be your goal. And I think it's the driving motivator to sit with that uncomfortable and going back to purpose, right? And sharing that purpose and understanding more about that for each other, the connectedness of it, and how working on that as a team connects the team together so we feel like we're heading towards a shared goal. So through the conversations that we're having about work and life and what's our purpose and what energizes us, we're also connecting to what's making a difference for us at work. And how is that connected or how is that related to what's driving us at home and life? And then we're learning from each other that we're actually, all driven towards a similar kind of direction. And it's really empowering for everybody to be part of a team that you're feeling that genuinely. And and that's where you
absolutely.
can all sit in the uncomfortable too, because we've had moments, and even recently in our workplace, where we've got a new executive. The executive team are changing roles. We're going to be shifting where we sit in the business, and it's popping up a lot of stuff for us as a team. But the things that people are sharing and the way that we are working through this with resilience and with excitement really, I think, shows that we've put in the the good discussions to get to that place. Yeah.
And all that stuff that comes up, it's where it sits. Do we push it down and keep it beneath the surface and just experience that unrest and unease and tension? Or do we allow it to come to the surface? Do we have the courage and the vulnerability to allow it to come to the surface and be something we deal with head on? We deal with honesty and authenticity, because then we can actually process it. It's going to be there either way. It's how we allow ourselves to deal with it.
And I think what I've also learnt that's really important when we're sharing stories with each other and creating that safe environment, particularly for leaders, is that we are actively listening. And I've learnt a lot about listening through working with the Aboriginal community in Lutruwita, Tasmania. And what I mean by that is listening to understand, listening to hear and receive what the needs and preferences and experiences are of other people, rather than listening to solve a problem, listening to fill the space of answering
Exactly right.
and what's next and trying to get your last word. Because that's often what's kind of sitting there. You want to go, oh, and that's okay. But I think I've really learned the importance of what genuine listening looks like, and how valuable that is to get to know each other more and to trust each other in the space that we're sitting in. And we've been talking about that uncomfortable place. And particularly when you're having really tough conversations about painful experiences and painful history, for us who are at those tables and able to sit with the privilege that we have, we deeply need to listen.
Yeah. So I have no doubt that so many leaders listening to this know that that's a deficit, that that's something that they could and should work on. They've probably received some feedback, or they just know it's through self-reflection. For those people, what are the first steps they can take? What are a couple of tangible actions they can take to bring that to life? Because it is, I think, it's profoundly true, and often the gap for people is in, I know I need to do it, but I've got to overcome some habits, and I've got to overcome some, my history, and I'm not sure how to get started. So how would you advise them to get started?
I think it's about thinking about situations particularly and reflecting on those. And, I wrote a little helpful post-it note for myself of, am I listening to fix or helping to fix or helping to enable? And these are really different things, because what's great about humans is that we do want to help each other and fix the problems that people might be experiencing.
Yeah.
What the problem is in that is that if we're taking the power away from the person that's hoping to gain the strengths and capabilities to do that for themselves. So that's the power to enable rather than the power to fix. And I think when listening, we're often listening to fix a situation and experience, to a problem that might be being shared with us, rather than thinking about how am I listening so that I can help enable the person to know to do what's next for them, to walk the path of discomfort so that they learn and experience it. And that's a little helpful kind of check I have. So it's just one of those simple post-it notes you stick on your desk, really.
Yeah. I hope our listeners rewind that bit and listen to it 2 or 3 times, because what you said is so profound, that distinction is so profound, but it takes a moment to stop and really get our heads around it, particularly in a busy environment where there's so much, so much to do, and the to-do list and the email and the phone, and the quickest answer is to listen to fix, but it's actually not necessarily what they need from us. And it certainly won't lead to better understanding.
And that's the goals that we want for our teams, to be working productively and really flourishing in their space. And I feel that if leaders are operating in a constant space of listening to fix, we aren't truly enabling our teams to grow. And ultimately, it's making yourself, I suppose, not needed as a leader.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's the ultimate compliment, isn't it? That, we always talk about the goal of the leaders to develop more leaders. And, if good organisations measure the value of a leader by their ability to grow leadership. So, I love that. So,
and I think that's a really powerful thing too. And because we are talking often in this cast to those that are sitting in leadership and working in business, and that growing of leaders at all levels, that's really important to me. Like, it's probably sits true as a value that I see. Everyone has a strengths within them to be taking leadership in whatever space they feel as suits them best.
Yeah.
And we've got to look after the leaders in the organisation who are showing those talents.
Yeah.
I've just been sitting here nodding, because I just think you articulate everything that we work with our leaders so well, of putting it into practice and how to do it, and you do it in such an authentic, vulnerable way of just being really authentically yourself. So it's been a real privilege to sit here and chat with you.
Oh, thank you.
Something that I've noticed, you slow me down. And I don't know if you bring that to your team, but it's an amazing attribute but it's not that you waffle or anything like that. It's just that you slow down a bit. You are prepared to sit with something a bit. You make me slow down. And because you make me slow down, I think differently. I think it's an incredible attribute you've got. I think your team must benefit from that.
Well, thank you. And I think, it's a practice too. I am coming from a world where I would like to see things done quickly, well, and in a really timely way. And I've learnt that for us to be leading teams through change and productive teams to grow those leaders, it actually takes a lot of patience and creating of space to enable that growth and development to happen. And I'm talking about what it's like for a leader that I'm also doing all those things too, all at the same time. It's my own growth and my own development
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
And you talked about being vulnerable and doing things outside your comfort zone.
Mm.
Is something like appearing on a podcast, does that qualify for you as going out of that comfort area and doing something that stretches you?
Yeah, it really does. It really does. It feels really awkward and uncomfortable because I'm talking about myself. I think I'm here because if others are able to learn from the stories that we're sharing today, that's a great thing. And I'm willing to wear the uncomfortable feeling that I have because I know it's going to strengthen a little bit more within me a confidence to do this conversation with someone else in a really different place and space, and that's why I'm here. So it's really great to be given this opportunity, and I'm really grateful for that.
There's a real knack, isn't there, to being able to talk about yourself, but in a way that, and I can't quite grab the word, but in a way that's okay, and you have a real ability to talk about yourself and your perspectives and your experiences, and I think it's probably because you don't impose them. You share them as things that are real for you, but leave that open for others to make their own mind up about. I'm going to have to grapple with that one a bit, but I think that's probably.
I think for me, you share them as learned experiences as well. It's not just I do and I did. You have such a way of articulating the learned experience through what you've learned and how you've done it. It's almost like you take everyone for a journey along, and it just makes me be able to understand I can do that, or I've been in that situation before and I can see how that was a really good choice, or that was a really good learning, or I've sat in that uncomfortable before and I have shied away from it, or I've sat in the uncomfortable before and that's where I found the strength. So I think that's a real positive you have when you're speaking, is that you do have that learned experience that you share. So thank you from me. Thank you for that, because that has really helped me just sitting here listening.
I mean, it makes me feel really good to know that that's how it's being received. So, because that's the genuine intent. So it's good that it's coming out that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm very conscious of your time, but I just have one final question for you, and it's sort of really bringing together everything we've talked about. And this is me with a little bit of local knowledge. You've gone into an organisation that's got a long history, with people that have been there a long time, that have got some really ingrained, or the organisation and probably some of the people have got really ingrained ways of doing things and thinking. And you're obviously part of a wave of evolving the culture around, I guess, the way people interact, around the approach to work, but also around social responsibility. How do you use all those attributes that we've talked about today to help take people on that journey?
Wow. So I feel that as a business, because like you're saying, we are a large business within Tasmania, and the people that are working in our place are sitting within the communities that they serve.
Yeah.
And we are there to provide an essential service to householders and businesses across Tasmania. So it really connects us from a purpose-driven place to know that that's what we're here for. And I feel that the things that we're talking about today and how that creates that connectedness is by sharing those stories and talking about what are those things that drive me and how do you make meaning, how I make meaning of it in my everyday work, and then asking the question to the person on the other side, what are the things that are making meaning for you?
Yeah.
And how does that connect back to your everyday work? So just drawing those stories out and then bringing people along with that vision. And
Because
this
they
is where,
feel heard.
yeah, because they feel heard and because they're quite inspired by it. And it's just
Yeah.
a matter of seeing where it fits in.
Yeah.
And it could be fitting in today, it could be fitting in a year's time, or it could be quite a bold future vision that
Yeah.
might be 10 years away, right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of connecting to people at the place and space that they're working at as well, because we're all coming at it from different experiences and value sets.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I've answered your question.
Well, even if you haven't answered that one, you've answered a good one. So that's. But no, it was really sort of helping people listening how you take all of this and move an organisation that is large and that has got quite a traditional history. And I think you've given some great insight into that.
And I think for us, it's for me, what drives me particularly is sharing the stories of those within the communities that we serve. So being really recognizing that who's not at the table with us in some of the discussions and decisions that we're making, and bringing the voice of those who aren't at the table to be there with us. And I see myself and our social responsibility team holding a bit of a space to do that and have that conversation with our own business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that lead to some robust discussions internally that you find yourself needing to be the voice that isn't heard sometimes?
Very robust, challenging conversations can evolve. And I think that's because we are asking of others to think a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And to value differences.
Yeah.
And it does take real courage from the person on the other side of the table to see that world and understand it too.
Yeah.
Because we are, experts in our space.
Yeah.
And to open the door to somebody who might not fit that kind of label is a challenging one for everybody, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And bringing together such diverse values and viewpoints and needs is it would take someone with the skills and approach and mindset that is so clearly evident in you. It wouldn't be a role that everyone could fill, I imagine.
I think it does take a real understanding of going back to purpose again and being able to hold yourself with authenticity, to know that you are there to share a story on behalf of someone else.
Yeah.
And I also need to be kind to myself if the feedback does come back that it's actually not about me. It's not my responsibility to take that on and wear the burden and heaviness of it.
Yeah.
So that's something I do continually learn, and sometimes I do it well and sometimes I really don't do it well at all.
Yeah.
But that's just those everyday experiences.
Yeah.
And I think, what I've seen and what can be shaped when we get through these moments and keep persistent at it is the opportunity and the creativity that unfolds by bringing in new ideas and different ideas. And even those that might have been stuck initially, when they're sitting in the advocacy space and standing on the other side, you go, wow, that's awesome. Wow, we're really in a place now. And that person's feeling it too. And they're feeling inspired as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. Kiralee, any last words?
No, I'm pretty good sitting here listening to what we've just listened to.
It's fun. And I'm going to put my hand up and say the vulnerable me was really nervous about reaching out to Kirsten and saying, would you like to appear in the podcast? Because I thought, why would she want to talk to me? And it's interesting, isn't it, that when we see that in each other, because the vulnerable Kirsten thought, gosh, being on a podcast. And I think it's a really endearing thing to see about each other, and it makes us so human, doesn't it?
It does.
And we're probably all thinking the same things most of the time.
Yes.
So I'm so glad that we overcame our vulnerabilities and made it happen. I'm so glad we overcame our logistical issues and made it happen. So thank you so much for what you've shared with our listeners. And look, to be honest, I'm going to be selfish here. Thank you so much for what you've shared with me.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm walking away from this better than I came into the conversation, so thank you.
Definitely.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be here with you today, and you've really filled my cup.
Thanks, Kirsten.
Thanks, Kirsten.
Cheers. Thanks for listening to Authenticity, Shaping High-Performance Workplace Culture. If this episode has provided you with strategies, insights, or inspiration, head to your favourite podcasting app and make sure you subscribe to be notified of future episodes. To get a sense of how your current culture measures up, you can take our Authentimeter, a free online assessment. It will take you about 10 minutes and give you an indicator of exactly how authentic your culture is. You can find that at authenticity.com.au/podcast.